Hello you beautiful humans, I hope you guys are all doing well. So in this video, over on my Instagram recently, I did a Q&A asking people to send me questions about solo traveling. Firstly, thank you to everyone that sent me questions. If you're not already following me on my Instagram, what are you doing? I post a lot of travel content, a lot of fashion content, and I interact a lot in there. I feel like I'm getting a grasp of the Instagram algorithm, and I interact a lot with my followers over on there. So if you're not following me, I think you definitely should. So a few of these questions I actually did answer on my Instagram. So for those ones, I'm just gonna skim through them really quickly. If you'd like the full in-depth answer, then do head over to my Instagram. I have a highlight of the Q&A and you'll be able to find out the full answer there. If you're a regular watcher of my channel, you might also notice that you guys are lower down, but that's because I'm back in the gym. It is past November the 2nd and gyms in the UK are back open. I did leg day yesterday and right now my quads, my glutes, everything below waist level is paining. Okay, so I needed to sit down while filming this video, and whenever I do Q&As they usually take a long time as well, so that's why you're a bit lower down. But without further ado, let's get into the questions. Do you pick a place to stay? Now I answered this in depth on my Instagram, so head over there and I gave a really good tip that I do. So if you want to know what that tip is, and I think that's the best tip ever, head over to my Instagram. But essentially I always use booking.com or Expedia, specifically Expedia, because you can also gain Nectar points from your hotel bookings. I am on my whole like Avios points, Nectar points. I love collecting points, maybe because I'm getting older, because they really can be very beneficial. But yeah, I always start there, look at reviews on there as well, and then I also head over to Instagram, see if people have stayed there using the geotag. There you can see more updated photos of the hotels. We're in the age of social media, so really use that to your advantage. You can get information about anyone or anything or any place on the internet nowadays. What's the story behind your dad speaking full Turkish? Always wondered but forgot to ask. My dad speaks Turkish because he used to be in the army, and back in the day, I don't know if the Gambian army does that now, but back in the day they would actually send some of their troops to Turkey to study and to train. That's how he learned how to speak Turkish. And also I grew up in East London, and there he had a lot of Turkish friends. I grew up around a few Turkish people, so he was able to maintain his Turkish, and yeah, that's how he speaks it. I wish he had taught me, because while I was in Turkey I was calling my dad all the time. Anytime I had Wi-Fi I would call my dad, hello daddy, speak to them please. I was trying to get a discount. Okay, how many days would you say is the perfect amount for a solo trip? This really depends on yourself, where you're going, and what you want to do. The only time I've ever spent more than a week in a place is actually when I went to Turkey, and that's because I went to 3 different places. But in all those 3 different places I spent maximum maybe 4 days. But like I said, it depends on what you want to do. I'm just gonna put some background music here. But as I was saying, on average most of my solo trips I've spent a maximum 5 days, but it depends on you and what you want to do. I know some people that have gone and solo traveled for a month. I know people that have solo traveled for a whole year. But I feel like the longer you solo travel, you're more likely to meet other people who are also solo traveling, or other travelers on your trip, and then you won't really feel that much alone. If you stay somewhere for a short period of time, you'll feel the fact that you're solo traveling and you're on your own, and it just depends if you like that or if you don't. I personally don't mind it, but yeah, definitely depends on you and where you're going as well. If it's somewhere in Europe, I would say spend a few days, unless like I said you're city hopping. If you're going somewhere far away like Bali, definitely spend like a week, maybe 2 weeks, because the flight number 1 is long, and I'm not spending that amount of time on a plane to go somewhere just for a week or for 5 days. Any places you would recommend I travel to for solo traveling for the first time? This is a really good question, and my answer may be a bit different from the norm, because I always see people, specifically people from the UK, always say when you're solo traveling, start off going somewhere that's close to home, like Europe. I actually wouldn't recommend that, because there are a few countries in Europe that are quite racist, if we're being honest, and especially as a black woman you may not feel that comfortable, and it may put you off solo traveling. The only benefit is the fact that your flight probably takes between 1 and 2 hours. I would actually suggest going far away to some countries that are a bit more respectful, a bit more safe, and have a more calmer culture. So for example, I would really recommend Bali or any side of Indonesia as a first time to solo travel. Number 1, you can get cheap flights. Number 2, you can live very lavishly, very cheap. The villas in Bali are, well, when we went they were super cheap to book. I'm not too sure how it is now. And also just the culture, the people are so respectful, so respectful. Even when they're telling you off, it's in such a respectful manner. And another thing I would also suggest is, obviously we're black, we're women, think about going to some African countries. Tanzania is a really good country to go to cute. I would even suggest going to Gambia. And the great thing about African countries now is that a lot of them are starting to have the Uber app. So like when we went to Egypt, you could use Uber there, so that was really good. So you don't have that pressure of like, I would say the main thing about solo traveling is actually taxi drivers and how you're gonna get around. You just have to get your head around that some taxi drivers are gonna try to rip you off, and you just have to stand your ground. Although I have said all of that, there are some countries in Europe, because I know not everyone is gonna want to go so far away for their first time. Barcelona is one. I've been to Barcelona on my own. They were really nice, really respectful. And the great thing about Barcelona is that it feels like a city, but it's near the sea, so you get your beach and you get your city as well. Another place is Rome. Rome was so lovely. Definitely would recommend Rome. If I can think of any more, I will put them in the description bar below. There was actually a post that someone made on Instagram. I think I saved it, but if I find it, I will link it below, where she was a solo black traveler, and she literally made like a collage of posts on places that are safe to travel for black women. I wanted to go to Turkey on my own, but was super scared. Do you recommend for a solo trip? In terms of Turkey, I said this on my Instagram, I would definitely recommend Fethiye and Cappadocia going solo. Everyone in Fethiye and Cappadocia was so lovely. Even the taxi drivers were so lovely, very peaceful, easy to get around depending on what hotel you stay at. I would definitely recommend the hotel that I stayed at in Fethiye because it was so close to everything, and it was cheap as well to get taxis to maybe some of the other places I want to go to, but it was really close to town, but not too close that you were disturbed by all the hustle and bustle. If you want to know what hotel I stayed in Fethiye, definitely check out my Instagram. I'm going to be plugging my Instagram throughout this video. I need to get to 10k followers on my Instagram. I just want the swipe up button. That's all I want. I just want the swipe up button. It's just gonna make my life so much easier. So yeah, head over to my Instagram. I have a reel about the hotel that I stayed at in Fethiye. Cappadocia as well. Everyone was so lovely, so respectful. So I would definitely recommend those two places. Istanbul, like I said before, if this is your first time solo traveling, don't go to Istanbul. Even maybe if you're a seasoned solo traveler, you may not want to go to Istanbul because Istanbul is a bit crazy. And like I said, the taxi drivers are crazy. I was propositioned for sex while I was in Istanbul, which is so... I'm gonna have a mini story time about that whole situation in that vlog. But yeah, I definitely wouldn't recommend Istanbul. And even if I go again, I wouldn't want to go to Istanbul on my own. I definitely would want to go with like friends or possibly my husband as well. Yes, yeah, so I wouldn't recommend Istanbul. Fethiye, Cappadocia, 100%. How do you even get started, and were you scared? In terms of starting, I think I started by accident. I was never on this whole like, oh yeah, I want to solo travel. I think nowadays solo traveling, it's a really popular thing to do, but back in the day, I started solo traveling when I was 19. My first solo travel trip was to South Africa, and at that time it wasn't that popular. Instagram was not around. I even felt a bit like weird going. I felt like people would think like she's just going on her own because she doesn't have any friends, but that was the reason. I did have friends, but a lot of my friends at that time, they didn't want to travel a lot, and I have always wanted to travel. Yeah, so I just literally, you just have to start off with this. Find somewhere you want to go. Ask your friends, if you have a boyfriend or a partner, ask them if they want to go with you, and if none of them want to go, then just go. Like honestly, just go. I think with anything in life, you just have to throw yourself at it. If you want some practical tips, maybe start by, I don't know, maybe like go to a restaurant or a cafe in the UK by yourself if you are from the UK, and also figure out what is stopping you from doing it. Is it that you don't want to go by yourself because you don't want to feel alone? Is it because you're scared for your safety? I think you always have to find what you're scared of in terms of solo traveling, and then work backwards from that, how you can overcome it and then go on your trip. If it's because you don't want to feel alone, then I would suggest going out to dinner on your own, or maybe going to the cinema on your own in your hometown, because that will sort of ease that away. If it's because you don't feel safe, use some of the tips that I answered in the previous questions, reaching out to other people, researching the country you're going to. In terms of were you ever scared, I mentioned this on my Instagram. So I have not been solo traveling, but my parents used to pluck me on a flight on my own from when I was like 13 or 14. I have a lot of family in different countries, so I used to go to Norway a lot, and I would fly on my own on the plane, and it was the best experience ever because the air hostesses are so nice to you. You get to board the plane first. Sometimes they also let you sit in the front or let you sit in business class. I think definitely my love for travel came from that, and maybe that's why I've never really been scared to do it. It's just something that, because I was forced to take flights on my own when I was younger, I just sort of got over it, and I never had that opportunity to feel scared. What has been your favorite solo vacation or country to visit solo? I need all the useful info, sis. Definitely South Africa. I loved my trip to South Africa so much. There was just so much to do. The wildlife, I love elephants. I'm a big fan of elephants, and the fact that I got to see elephants and just be so up close and personal to them. And it wasn't like, sometimes I know that Asian countries have elephants as well, but from the reviews I've seen, and I even went to, well, what was supposedly an elephant sanctuary in Bali, but then when we got there we realized it really wasn't. I don't like those touristy attractions when it comes to animals, so seeing them just maybe because I'm African as well, just seeing them like run wild, it was amazing. And just my whole experience, I met some really good people. I also ended up volunteering there, so that was definitely my favorite trip. If I'm thinking more closer to home, oh, I need some water. I feel like I've been talking so much. If I'm thinking about a country closer to home, I think my favorite country or town would have been Barcelona. Like I said, you have the city, you also have the beach, and people were just really lovely. And Barcelona also has a very good metro or underground system, similar, not even similar to TfL, way better than TfL. So it was so easy to get around and really cheap as well. Do you feel safe alone? I do, and like I said, I think it's because, maybe it's because I'm the eldest child. I feel like as eldest children, we're just left sometimes to fend for ourselves. After the rest of the siblings come, we're left to fend for ourselves, and we also have to like look after our siblings. I do feel safe alone. Even in Istanbul, like after that whole thing happened with the taxi driver, it's not I felt unsafe, I just felt really annoyed. And when it came to men, I was just like, don't talk to me, because if you're gonna try a thing, like I will insult you, okay? Don't try me, don't try me. Yeah, so I definitely feel safe alone. And ways that you can feel safe alone, like I said, research where you're going. Also take yourself out on dates. It's not every day that you have to go out with people. I like being by myself and I like being in my house, and that's one thing that I love about me and my husband. We understand that we both like our own company. And just, I know we're talking about traveling, but just the marriage tip, if you're gonna marry anyone or if you're gonna be in a relationship with anyone, definitely, if you're the type of person that you like having your own space, make sure you marry someone that also understands that. Because some people can see that as, oh, you don't want to spend time with me, or you don't want to be with me, oh my god, what have I done? When it's like, no, I like my own company. Like, I like myself, I really like myself, and sometimes I like to be with myself. Have you faced any racism or microaggression? Racism, no. Microaggression is being propositioned for sex. Microaggression, I don't know. But yeah, that was the, yeah, I'd say on my recent Istanbul trip was the only time I ever felt any sort of, what the hell, men are sort of mad. One thing I do notice though, in some countries, and it's mainly Arabs that do this, they'll ask to take a picture of you, or sometimes Chinese people like to do this as well, no disrespect, but those are the two ethnicities that have done this to me when I've been abroad on my own. They'll try to take a photo of you, and I'm like, for what? You've never seen a black person before. First time it did happen, I was like, oh, and I did. Then I realized, hold on, this is not this is stupid. Then I got annoyed, and now I'm at the stage where I'm just like, no thank you. Like now I'm used to it. I'm just like, no thank you, no thank you. So that's the only thing that I've ever faced. What's it like eating at restaurants alone? Absolutely fine, I'm cool. Do you know what keeps me company actually? My camera. So sometimes if I'm trying to shoot content, I will put my camera in front of me and then be shooting shots. And yeah, I think it's actually easier to eat alone in a foreign country, because even if anyone looks at you weird, you just think, well, I'm not gonna ever see you again. Whereas no, sometimes in London, or if you're in your local town, the reason why some people feel some type of way about eating alone is because mainly you're worried about what people might say, like, oh my god, why are you here on your own? Like, you have any friends? Once again, it just goes back to being comfortable with your own company. Yes, I have friends, I have a whole husband, but sometimes I might want to eat on my own, okay? And another benefit to eating alone is sometimes the people in the restaurant, like if you're at a smaller chained restaurant, you'll get some discounts. Like start speaking to the owner, they'll give you extras. In FETHIYE, I got some extras. Like the owners were so lovely to me because I'm on my own. I even got some discounts off my restaurant bill. So yeah, I like it. How are you able to plan the itinerary? I'm actually going to share my Turkey itinerary because a few people did ask. I'm going to share that on my Instagram, so head over to my Instagram to see that. But in terms of planning my itinerary, I will pick the country, research things that are good to do there, and I also sometimes look on Instagram as well for places that aren't that popular, because I'm not a fan of doing too many touristy things. I will try to do them, but I also want to see the more local culture and stuff like that. I then make a list of certain things or places that I want to do, and then depending on that, I will then see how many days I want to stay there. What do you do in the evenings? I want to go to nice restaurants but not by myself. So a tip I gave for this is stay in resort, because if you stay in a resort, you're more likely to start befriending people. This happened with me when me and my partner went to the Maldives. We found these two amazing couples that we then became friends with, and we were going out to dinner with them in the evenings. It also happened with me when I went to Istanbul. But yeah, what I was saying is stay in a resort, because most likely your first night you'll eat on your own, you'll probably see people, and when you're in a resort, the resort will usually have resort activities, and that is how you'll meet people, and then just naturally you'll start going to dinner together. And because everyone's going to the same dinner places, because there's only going to be a certain amount of restaurants on the resort, that's how you can alleviate not wanting to or not having to go to restaurants on your own if you don't want to. Okay, and the last few questions, how does your fiance feel about you traveling alone? How does your fiance feel about you traveling alone, even though yet to have a convo with my boyfriend? Sorry, I was reading that so stupidly. Okay, firstly, how does your fiance, he's my husband, he's not my fiance, we are married, he's fine. I did ask him if he wanted to come and he didn't, and I think it's very good to know your partner. Like, for example, in Cappadocia, you have to wake up at like 4 5 a.m. in the morning to do the balloons. That would be my husband's worst nightmare. Although after seeing my snaps and stuff, he's actually said, you know what, I would go and maybe wake up just for one day and the rest of the day I'm gonna sleep. My husband likes the type of holidays where you go, you wake up late, you relax on the beach, you drink cocktails and you just relax. You basically do nothing. That is his definition of a holiday. Me, on the other hand, I like doing things while I'm on holiday. I would like to have one day where I'm relaxing, but I can't spend a whole 7 days relaxing, and that's probably the reason why I ended up being proposed to in the Maldives, because initially he was the one that brought up us going to the Maldives, and I said, I've never had a wanting to go there, because researching it, it was, you're literally stuck on an island, there's nothing to do apart from things in the resort, and in my mind I just thought, oh my god, 7 days of doing nothing, we're just laying on the beach. That is my worst nightmare, but I actually planned that quite well, and I realized sometimes you do need those relaxing holidays, and depending on the resort you pick, there are quite a few activities you can do, like snorkeling, there's even gyms on your resorts. You just have to pick the right resort to be on. But yeah, he's fine with it. Like I said, we understand that we both like our own space. I would definitely say always ask them if you want to go. I do think it would be a bit weird for me to just say, oh, by the way, I'm going to Barcelona and I wanted to go on my own. I will always ask him if he wants to come, because I wouldn't mind him coming either. But at the same time, I know and he knows the trips that he knows that, okay, Barcelona, there's a lot of museums, there's this, that. He'll ask me, are we going to relax or are we going because you want to do stuff? And I'll say, okay, I'm going because I want to do stuff. Then he'll be like, yeah, you go, I'll pay for it, I'll see you when you're back. But if I say, oh yeah, I just want to go on a relaxing trip with you, then he'll come. So yeah, just have the conversation and see how your partner feels about it. What's your experience of being a solo traveler as a black woman? Any advice? I've had a good experience so far. I think it definitely depends on picking the right countries. If you start off with the wrong countries, it can definitely leave a bad taste in your mouth about solo traveling. So it's really important to yeah, think about where you're going and what you want to do as well. So those are all the questions. Thank you once again to everyone that asked me questions. Like I said before, if you're not following me on my Instagram, you definitely should. I will leave it here. I post a lot of fashion pictures, travel pictures. I will also have a highlight of the Q&As and the more in-depth answers that I gave to some of these questions there. So make sure you head over there to check it out. If you like this video, I think you might like this video here or possibly this video here. So click on either of those and let me continue to entertain you. And also make sure you look out for my Turkey vlogs. I hope you guys have a good morning, evening, afternoon, or whatever time you're watching this video. And I will see you all in my next video.